What's going on, everyone? Coach Aaron here, back in with another video to help you dominate the platform. Today we're going to do a little overview on the central nervous system and whether stress is killing your gains. So let's get right to it. Alrighty everyone, welcome back to another video. Thanks for tuning into the channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Greg Nuckols. I'm a powerlifting coach, athlete, referee, and meet director, and I make videos here on this channel to help out those groups of people with whatever knowledge I can provide. Today we're going to go over another user submitted question. So previously I have done a video on a question that someone has asked, and I said if anytime you have a question you want to ask me, you want a topic for me to discuss, you can always comment those below, or you can always email me or message me on Instagram. All information is in the description, and I'll take those questions and I'll try and make videos out of them. So someone did submit a question a little while ago to talk about the central nervous system, and so I've been putting it off for a little while, but I finally decided to put this video together. And while they didn't give any real specifics on how to discuss the topic or different questions or anything like that, I kind of get an idea of what they're asking, because a lot of lifters ask us about overtraining or overreaching, and if you can do too much volume that maybe makes you lose your gains, and whether it's related to like CNS fatigue or anything like that. And so it is a big topic. People talk about overtraining versus undertraining and whether your CNS is fried or stuff like that. So I figured, okay, let's put a video together and just kind of go over the topic a little bit and go over what my thoughts are. All right, we won't go too much into the central nervous system, your CNS, and what it does, because basically it just kind of controls your entire body, but we want to look into the specifics of how it relates to you training and you making progress, making those strength gains. So a big variable in this is called stress. And within stress, it basically can be anything and everything, because it can be your training stress, like how many sets and reps you do, what intensity you do, how many times a week you train, but it also can be what I call like life stress. So it could be like what your job is, what your family or friend relationships are, how many hours you're sleeping, how much water you're drinking, your nutrition, if you're in a caloric surplus or caloric deficit. So all these different variables come in when it comes to your ability to recover and for your ability to make gains. So a lot of people just try and focus on maybe the lifting aspect of how many sets and reps, like I said, how much volume or intensity or frequency they're doing, or maybe even things related to that, like not only just their training, but also whether if they're doing cardio, what their nutrition's like, whether their hydration is good, that kind of stuff, and ignore this whole other side of like their life stress of like their job, whether they're working a manual labor job or whether they're sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day, whether they're like fighting with a family member or their spouse or something like that, whether they have like big bills to pay and all this stuff like that. These life stresses people ignore can have a big effect as well on the training, other than just the volume, intensity, and frequency. All right, so it's not just one variable or two or three variables that are come together in this equation to figure out how fast you can progress or how much volume you can handle on a given day. It's hundreds and hundreds of variables that are coming in on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis that can dictate this. And not only can it dictate a single session, but it can also have a compounding effect. So let's say you're normally getting 8 hours of sleep every single day, and then one off day you happen to have like 6 hours of sleep or 5 hours of sleep. You may feel a little crappy when you wake up, but I mean, your body will get used to it and you'll kind of make it through that day fine. You'll be able to do your training session fine. So you may have a small reduction in your strength or your ability to recover that day. Maybe you would be able to handle slightly less volume, like let's say 1% less or 2% less, but it's not that big of a deal. But now if it starts compounding and you're doing 5 hours of sleep day after day, and you're slowly building that stress up of you're not able to recover for that volume that you're doing, and you're not able to sleep as much, then it can start having a bigger and bigger effect, where maybe now your strength has dropped 5%. If you continue doing it, maybe your strength drops 10%. And so then you're not going to be able to complete the sets, and then maybe you have to like cut the workout short or drop the weight or something like that. So these things can compound on each other. They all stack up on each other. And if whatever stress you're having continues to occur, then it can have a bigger and bigger effect on your training. So you have to look at it from the single session effects, but also like an entire training cycle effect if there are issues that are compounding, because you can't control them or you can't change them. All right, so the next thing I want to go over is an article on Stronger by Science by Greg Nuckols. And in this article, he goes over stress. The title of the article is called Stress, the Silent Killer of Gains. So in the article, he goes over a research study that goes over the effects of stress. So let's go over it. So the study that he goes over is called Chronic Psychological Stress Impairs Recovery of Muscular Function and Somatic Sensations over a 96-hour period. And it was from 2014. So in the study, the researchers sent out a questionnaire to 1,200 people, and then they took in the participants and they put them into a low stress group and a high stress group. Then they put them through a workout, and as Greg says, the workout was pretty freaking brutal, as they had to work up past a 10 rep max, and then they had to do back down sets where they're doing more sets of 10. So pretty difficult session as far as doing a ton of volume and building up a ton of fatigue. And then you can see that they collected different data points like maximal isometric force, vertical jump height, and cycling power. And not only did they assess these before they did the training, but then directly after, 60 minutes after, 24 hours after, 48 hours after, 72 hours after, and 96 hours after. And then in the chart, we can see the results for each of those data points. And you can see that the blue line is the low stress group and the orange line is the high stress group. And so you can see that first visit, pre-exercise, basically the same. Immediately post-exercise, basically the same. 60 minutes post, basically the same. So from coming into the workout and up to 60 minutes post-workout, regardless of whether you're in a high stress group or a low stress group, then you have basically no difference in your maximal isometric force. But then where you start to see the difference is 24 hours after. It looks like the low stress group is recovering a little bit faster, and then the 48 hours after, you can really see that the low stress group was able to recover faster than the high stress group. So then you can kind of see that even though both groups did the same exact workout, going through the same exact process, and they came in with the similar levels of the maximal isometric force, then there was different recovery rates because of the stress that they're having outside the workout. So for someone who's having a lot of stress outside the workout, a bunch of life stress and maybe not sleeping well or nutrition's not well and stuff like that, then the recovery was a little bit slower. And for the low stress group who doesn't have a lot of life stress, they can sleep a ton, eat a ton, drink a ton, then they were able to slowly start recovering faster. And then you started to see that difference a little bit at 24 hours afterwards, but then you really saw that difference at 48 hours afterwards. So then if you were someone who was going to do a workout like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then you go to do the Wednesday workout. If you are part of that low stress group, then you'd be able to do either more in that workout, or you'd be able to do the same as the high stress group, but be able to recover faster and not have that compounding effect of the stress building up. If you were in the high stress group, then you might have to wait longer. You might have to wait the 96 hours, as you see in the chart, that at 96 hours, basically the high stress group caught up. And so then you'd have to wait that long. Or if you did the Wednesday workout and you were already stressed out and you weren't fully recovered, then again, you're gonna have trouble recovering after the Wednesday workout. So then you go into Friday, and now Friday you have the stress compounded from the Monday and Wednesday workouts. And so it slowly snowballs and gets worse and worse until your workouts start deteriorating. You might get injured, you might have to lower the weights because you can't finish the workout, or you just get lack of motivation, you don't want to go to the gym anymore, that kinds of stuff. So then under the section for takeaways, you can see the first thing that Greg mentions is that the results of your training can't be reduced to how many sets, reps, and exercise you did. There's all these other factors that are affecting how your body will respond to the exercise. A few paragraphs down, he also mentions that this same group that did this research study had done another research study over a 12-week period. And what they found out in that study was that people with high life stress gained less strength in the squat and bench press than people with low life stress. So this kind of goes back to the idea again of whether you have high stress or low stress outside of the training. You're doing the same exact training. That stress from the outside is going to come in and affect your training. It's going to affect your ability to recover, and it's going to affect then your ability to progress. So then the group that has less stress is going to be capable of doing more or recovering faster from doing the same exact workouts, and then be able to progress faster, and slowly over time that compounds, and the low stress group starts getting faster and faster, and the high stress group starts progressing slower and slower, and then you get that difference where the low stress group gain more strength in the squat and the bench press than the high stress group. All right, so then this means it's important to try and manage your stress as much as possible. So you need to be looking at all these variables in your life and seeing which ones you can control and which ones you can't control. And for the things that you can control, seeing, well, if this is a goal you want to hit, you want to gain strength and you want to do this competition, you want to hit these numbers, then it becomes important to you to figure out a way to reduce these stress levels so that you can be able to recover faster in your workouts, to be able to progress faster and hit those goals. So then it goes back to some of the things I mentioned in previous videos and on Instagram when it comes to managing your stresses, then focusing on those big things. So seeing how much your sleep levels are at on a regular basis and can you make improvements there to get into the normal range. Seeing where your hydration levels are at, seeing whether you can improve that to get more in normal range, seeing where your nutrition is at, are you in a caloric surplus, deficit, maintenance, and then if you are in the right group that you want to be in, then look within there and start looking at your macro breakdown or micronutrient breakdown and seeing whether there's improvements that you can make there. Also worth noting in that second study that Greg mentions, he also mentions that not only did the people have stress or different little stressful life events in their life at that time, but also they felt stress. So it wasn't just having the stress, but it was also feeling the stress. So what he mentions in there of looking further into, or he tries to extrapolate, is that the perception of stress is also going to have an effect. So if you have two people with the same levels of stress, but one person handles it well, and one person freaks out over every little thing, then the person who's freaking out over every little thing is going to also feel more stressed out, which then is going to hinder the recovery and the progress.
I'm freaking out, man. You are freaking out, man.
The person who takes the stress well is then going to recover faster and be able to progress faster. That means that it's not only important to manage your stress to see whether you can make improvements and make adjustments to make your stress levels go down, but if there are some stressful things that you just can't control, it just happen, then it's how you react to it. Saying, okay, it's not that bad that I had to just stay up late this one night to study for an exam. I'll do well on the exam and I'll just go back to normal with my sleeping schedule and I'll be able to recover from it just fine. Rather than the person who freaks out like, oh my God, I stayed up all night, I didn't get any sleep in, I feel like crap, my workout's gonna be crap, I'm probably still not gonna do well on the exam, and then all that building up of the having the stress and feeling stressed out, then it's gonna be worse than the person who's not worried about it as much. So hopefully this helps you out in seeing that there's a lot of different variables when it comes to your stress levels, which then leads to your recovery levels and then leads to your rate of progress. So you don't want to just focus on those sets, reps, frequency, that kind of stuff. You also want to look at these other things and see whether the other things are in check or whether you can make improvements there. And then if you can't make improvements, seeing whether you can just react to life stress better than freaking out over every little thing. And the other thing you can do is either adjust your training or implement some kind of training strategy that has some kind of adjustments or auto regulation in there. So you don't want to always just go in there and say, okay, I have to do 5 sets of 5 at 80%, regardless of how I'm feeling or how difficult it is or how bad my form is or whether I'm gonna be able to finish the rest of my workout or anything like that. You want to be able to adjust based on how you are feeling and what life stresses you have. If you have, like I said, finals coming up and you're not sleeping well and you're not eating well and you just feel stressed out and stuff like that, then maybe you start adjusting the training down a little bit, go down to some lower intensities, some lower RPEs to accommodate that. You're gonna have higher stress and you're gonna have lower recovery. And then once you're done with finals and maybe it's like summer break or something like that and you have a ton of sleep and you get to eat and drink and spend 3 hours in the gym training, then you can start bringing that intensity back up and getting those RPEs back up to help accommodate for your recovery rate being higher, and then you can progress at a faster rate. So for me personally, when I do programming for my lifters, I try and put these things in there. So some of my lifters will be completely auto-regulated with RPE, and then they can always adjust based how they're feeling that day on the RPE. Oftentimes I'll give them a range too. I won't always just say do RPE 8. I'll give them maybe 7.5 to 8 to also give them a little bit room to work with in case they don't know exactly what RPE 8 is or stuff like that, or they're scared to overshoot or undershoot. You give them a little bit of room to work with. For some of my lifters also who don't feel completely comfortable with just RPE, I'll give them both. So I'll give a set weight and I'll give the RP that I want it to be. So the set weight gives them an idea on an average day what they should be capable of hitting, at least from my prediction of what they should be able to hit. and then they can use the RPE to gauge whether they should go up or down from that prescribed weight based on if they're feeling better that day or worse that day. All right, so you can also use the RPE to gauge your stress levels in your programming. For example, if we just take a common protocol that people use, you can do a top single at RPE 8, and you can track that every week and see whether that is trending up, whether it's staying the same, or it's trending down. If it's trending down, then it's possible it could be trending down because your recovery rate isn't high enough to recover between your workouts in order to get back to that top single RPE for that week and perform as good or better. So you may have to look into it.
When you look into it, you gotta look into it. Look into it. Look into it. But you gotta look into it.
Am I doing maybe too much volume leading up to that single? Am I not sleeping enough? Am I not drinking water enough? All those different things, and seeing what could be possibly affecting that downtrend in your top single at 8. So then you can use that as a guide for your training weeks over the long term. Some people may also use a AMRAP at the end of the week, and you can kind of see, okay, I did an AMRAP at 80% and see week to week how it goes. If you start going down from like 8 reps down to 5 reps down to 3 reps to failing, then obviously you know there's some kind of stress that's really affecting your ability to recover. Versus the other way, if it's going from 5 reps to 8 reps, then 10 reps, then you know then you are recovering very fast and you're able to progress within the week to be able to do more reps at the same percentage the following weeks. And if you want to see some other examples of this, you can go check out my free programs that I have on my website. And also here on this channel, I have videos that go over it, breaking it down of how I designed it and how you can make adjustments and all that kind of stuff. And you can go see that some of them are percentage based and some of them are RPE based. So then you can get an idea from the RPE based of how I might program a training week as far as the frequency and the volume, and then the RPEs so the person can adjust up and down based on how they're feeling. And the last thing I just wanted to note is because since I got a bunch of this information from Greg Nuckols from his site Stronger by Science, that you can also go to strongerbyscience.com and you can go look at all the different articles and podcasts and all the stuff they have where they look into a lot of these topics and they look at what the research is out there on these topics and what kind of takeaways they can get from it. And actually under the articles section, there's a search bar, so you can search whatever you want. You can search nervous system and see what topics come up for that. Or you can search whatever bodybuilding and see what kind of topics they've done that go into whatever you are searching, so you can then pinpoint what articles you want to look into and see what information they can provide to make you a better lifter or coach. All right, so hopefully this video helped you out. If it did help you out, then give it a like. If you have a friend who's asking about CNS fatigue or overtraining or undertraining, they can always share this video with them. Hopefully provide them with some helpful information, and they can always go look more on the Stronger by Science website. And they can even go check out this article that I mentioned and the research studies that Greg Nuckols mentions in the article. And if you want to see more videos like this, then make sure to subscribe. And like I said, you can always comment below with what topics you want me to hear discuss in future videos, as I try and put out a number of videos every week. I'll also put the card for my free program playlist above, so you can go check out those videos where I break down all the free programs that I have on my website. And also in the description below, I have the link to my website. You can go check out the actual free programs and download them and try them out for yourself. If you do try them out, you can always let me know your results or any comments that you have of adjustments you want me to make, and I can look into those and make those adjustments so that it can be better for future lifters trying them out. But other than that, I hope you're having a good day and a good week, and I'll see you guys next time.